A very special challenge match. One fall television time remaining. First of all, let me introduce as they make their way to ringside at a combined weight of 426 pounds. Here are the Nightmares. And ladies and gentlemen, their opponents for tonight's match. First of all, weighing in at 227 pounds from Hendersonville, Tennessee. Here is Tommy Wildfire Rich. And his partner at 224 pounds, Montgomery, Alabama, Johnny Crash Rich.
We've got a battle that's broken out. A battle is broken out before Rich and Rich could get to the ring. Johnny Crash Rich and Tommy Wildfire Rich battling it out with the Nightmares outside the ring. They never got to the ring, and I don't know if they're ever going to. Rich dropped back and caught. The Nightmare catches him again. They're up against that steel retaining wall. It's Rich catching up a hard right hand that staggers the Nightmare. There's Johnny Crash Rich after the other Nightmare. And they may never see the inside of this ring. Brother, did he catch him with a roundhouse right, another one. And so the Nightmare wreaking vengeance on Johnny Rich and Tommy Rich, and the beautiful retaliation there. A pair of six are outside the ring, but now Tommy Rich gets one of the Nightmares in. Johnny Rich gets the other Nightmare in. And, brother, they are going to Pier 6 City. Irish whips, they catch him. Backdrops, and the Nightmare's in trouble. Both of them missing with elbows that time now as the Nightmares back to their feet. Up and over his man, got him with a good drop kick. And once again, they're outside the ring. And Johnny Rich. Pair of atomic knee drops has the Nightmares in trouble. Remember, next week, Tennessee Stud versus the Bullet, and two more of the TV tournament matches. And those will continue on into November. And don't forget the dream match. Write in the match that you'd like to see here on Continental Championship Wrestling. Write it in care of this station. And let us know. The match that receives the most votes will be the one you'll see in November. Remember, it's November to remember coming up. Rich catches the Nightmare in the ring while Tommy Rich and the other Nightmare battle it out outside. A four-way melee going now. High knee lift. Put Wildfire down on the desk. Tommy Wildfire Rich, don't forget to order that poster. And it is the Nightmare ripping across the back of Rich. Meanwhile, Johnny Crash Rich working well on the other Nightmare. Caught him. And Crash catches him. Near fall for Johnny Crash Rich. The Nightmare slips out of the ring once again. The Nightmare's calling for time down on the sideline. That doesn't happen in pro wrestling. You can get 6 timeouts to a game in football, but not in wrestling, in the crowd taking it up as they want those Nightmares back in the ring. Johnny Rich exposed with the right hand, another right hand, and a third. Nightmare caught again. Ducked to one side, and the Nightmare in trouble. Johnny Rich catches him once again. And so, Crash and Wildfire have got it back together. Tag is made. Tommy Rich moving back into the ring. He ducks under that one, and that time they both caught him in the Nightmare down. Tommy Rich coming off that top rope. And the Nightmare makes it outside the ring. Nightmares consoling each other, switching partners. That's one thing about them. They're very skillful and very adroit at switching. Bit of consternation going on right now, and they're complaining about the switch of the Nightmares and protesting to the referee. And now Johnny Crashwich outside the ring has the second Nightmare, and Tommy Wildfire Rich exploding on the first Nightmare. Over that top rope. Over that top rope. And it is now Johnny Rich outside the ring. Jams his head into that steel ring post. And it certainly appears that the Nightmare has been lacerated, and lacerated badly. He's down, and Rich plants a boot in the middle of his back. A low shot by the Nightmare. Has a chair, but Rich with the chair outside the ring. Johnny Rich in a lot of trouble. Meanwhile, one Nightmare back in the ring. Johnny Rich still outside and in a lot of trouble. Tommy Rich in trouble. Coming off that top rope outside the ring. And that may well be. And Johnny Rich caught again low right at the belt line. Tommy Rich coming up very, very slowly now. The Nightmares tagging up. They've got Johnny in trouble. Ooh. Right to the midsection, and that, of course, is where he has just recovered from some extremely serious injuries. He was on the critical list for 3 days. Instead of a vertical suplex, they're going for that abdominal area where he had extensive surgery after being critically injured. And now you notice the way they continue to punish that abdominal wall. Now they're taunting Tommy Wildfire Rich, and Rich letting that temper fly. Again, after that abdominal wall, and Tommy Wildfire Rich going absolutely berserk outside the ring. Johnny Crash Rich in a lot of trouble here.
10 minutes gone in the match. 10 minutes gone.
There you can see that long incision on the abdominal wall. That's what they've been concentrating on. Johnny Rich explodes one right to the heart of the Nightmare. Rich fires again. Doubles over the Nightmare. Again, the Nightmares tag up. Johnny Rich tries to make the tag and just barely missed. He explodes with a hard right hand. Catches him with another hard right hand. A third right hand, and the Nightmare in trouble now. A fourth. The tag was made, and Tommy Wildfire Rich is in the ring. Tommy Wildfire Rich moving like a perpetual motion machine now. Now Johnny Rich is in there. We've got a four-way melee going on. Referee now calling for the bell. And Nothing has been settled, that's for sure. Nothing has been settled. Rich catches him once again. Johnny Rich explodes with another hard right hand to the head of the Nightmare. Rich catches him again. The Nightmares, as they say, in a world of hurt. Brutal battle between these four. And obviously, it's not the belts, it's pride, it's family pride that's at stake here. The Riches feel that they have been tremendously maligned by the Nightmares. They don't want to get revenge, they just want to get even. Caught him in the abdominal stretch. And it's Tommy Rich and Johnny Rich. Standing guillotines on the... Oh, Nightmare broke it up. Good counter move by the Nightmare. Rich hurdled over that top rope. The referee calling for the bell. The referee calling for the bell. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. The Nightmare with a leather belt. The Nightmare with a leather belt. And boy, you talk about humiliation. That's it. Look at this. Tommy Wildfire Rich with a belt. And it's Humiliation City here. Those leather belts taking their toll now. That's like beating a cur dog. And the Nightmares decide to leave the ring area. The Nightmares leave the ring area. Brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, by referee's decision on the disqualification, the fall in the match go to Johnny and Tommy Rich.